Hi, my name is Rod Cleef, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef, and I'm thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to get tremendous pleasure and insights and value from the dynamic gentleman I'm interviewing today. His name is Ellis Hammond, and he's the founder. He's a full-time pastor, number one, but he's also got a group called Symphony Capital Group. They're in 800 doors, and they're under contract on another deal in Dallas right now. And just a really good guy. I've been on his show, which is called Kingdom REI, I believe, isn't it? Isn't it Kingdom REI? Yep. That's the name of your show? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And anyway, welcome to the show, brother. I'm glad you're here.
Rod, awesome to be here, man. Congrats on building a platform like you've built, and you know that you've helped so many, and excited to just partner with you in this today, man. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's have some fun. So why don't you start? I know you've got a pretty interesting story, and I know you're very faith driven. So let's hear about you. Let's hear real estate. Let's hear.
Yeah. So how many pastors have you had on the show in the past?
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever had one. Honestly, yeah. I don't know if it's maybe one, but my memory's so bad I forgot what I had for breakfast.
Well, you're pastoring, right? You shepherd a lot of people, man. No doubt about it, and helping a lot of people. But here's the thing: I'm actually no longer a full-time pastor, so maybe this is the wrong bio. But I was a pastor for 6 years. I led a college ministry called Campus Outreach, and absolutely fantastic time in my life where. My faith came alive in college, and so it was one of those seasons in life where I really wanted to go and be able to do the same thing and provide what was given to me to other folks on the college campus. And that brought me out to San Diego, and it was an absolute incredible way to grow and develop in my early to mid 20s. And honestly, Rod, I never thought I would do anything else. Like, I felt called to pastoral ministry. I still feel called to do ministry as a man of faith. But I'll tell you what was a turning point for me, and this will kind of launch us into this episode, I'm sure, was about 4 years into that ministry. We were growing a team, and to give you some context, we were kind of like missionaries in the sense that we raised all of our support to support our nonprofit.
By the way, that was his 1-year-old daughter in the background.
Yeah. So you might hear her.
We may have a little. She may want to get on the show here. So just so you guys know,
she loves the mic now. Careful before you invite her. She's like me. She's like her dad in that regard, right? She loves the camera.
Sorry, I interrupted. I just wanted to explain.
All good. And anyways, we were growing our nonprofit. We were growing pretty quickly, and I remember this day like it was yesterday. Right, I was sitting on the college campus. 4 years into our ministry, one of the young men that had come through our ministry as a college student was now on staff with our team, and he was also raising funds, to support what we were doing. And I just remember him coming to me one day, and this guy was typically really joyful, a guy that you would love to be around, and this was not one of those days. And I just said, "What's up, man? Like, what's going on?" And he looked at me and he said, "Ellis, I don't have enough money to buy groceries this month." And dude, that hit me like a ton of bricks for several reasons. One, because I couldn't help him. I didn't have the funds myself. I didn't have the resources, and I didn't know how to go get them. Like, I was doing the same thing. And not only that, but I think I had a turning point in my money mindset. Up to that point, if I'm being honest with you, I'm being honest with your audience, I probably saw money as evil. I didn't
really,
and not because that was my faith. That was a part of it. That I think maybe I got that, but I had just seen what money did. My parents divorced at 10. That was always an issue. My dad died when I was 21, and he died worrying about money. Man, money just had such a terrible place and influence in my life that I didn't want anything to do with it. But I realized in that moment, and I hope this speaks to your audience, that here was a guy who was trying to live his life for a great purpose. He was trying to help people. He was a man of God. And you know what the thing that he needed the most in that moment? He needed money.
I was going to say money. I didn't want to be trite. I was going to ask for money.
It is, man. That's exactly what he needed. He needed money. And that's when I had a turning point and a realization of I got to go figure out how to figure out this money game, how to build and create wealth. And I turned to real estate. Actually, I turned to a radio ad about real estate that said, if you want to learn how to invest in real estate, come to this 2-hour workshop. Now, I didn't go through that program, but I walked into a room full of a bunch of normal Joes that I heard from a radio ad. And it was the first time in my life where I saw a bunch of average Joes making massive amounts of money through real estate. And I just realized, like, real estate is not the end game, it's the starting point for those who want to build wealth. And that changed my life.
Just to circle back for a second, what was your nonprofit about that you were raising money for?
It was a college ministry, and so it was really kind of a spiritual and personal development on the college campus. So we served kind of as like the college arm of a church here in San Diego, and so we did discipleship ministry, evangelism ministry, and really kind of spiritual development across fraternities, athletic teams on college campuses. So we were really just building communities of faith across campuses here in San Diego.
Very nice, very nice. So, so you went to that 2-hour course, got all fired up. What was next? I mean, how did you learn this business? You know, now you're in, I don't know what, tens of millions of dollars, $87 million worth of real estate.
Yeah.
So to give us a little progression, if you don't mind, Ellis.
Yeah, that number is old now too, actually.
Right.
But I just kept hearing. I mean, Rod, you were an influence in this, right?
Oh,
I mean, there were so many people that I didn't know. I mean, people ask, my network was negative, like a negative network, right? Like I was college students was my network. They have more debt than they have assets. Right. So I just got hungry. I listened to everything I could. And the thing that I kept hearing was that first deal is the hardest, and don't take too long to get in your first deal. And so this is not what I would recommend other people doing, but I didn't know any better. I didn't have, someone like you, a mentor, telling me go bigger. So the first deal we did was a duplex here in San Diego, California. And,
well, in San Diego, a duplex is what, over $1 million?
Yeah, well, at that point, I sold it for over $1 million. Okay. At that point, I bought it for $500,000.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. But I did. That's funny you say that, because I did just sell it for over $1 million. When I bought it, was $572 was the price we bought it for, and we didn't have the money. Man, I convinced a family investor to put up the down payment. My wife and I put in the sweat equity, and we created more money in that deal. We created more equity in the first 12 months of that project than we probably had ever made in 3 years as being in ministry. And that's like when the light bulb went off. We can do this. Real estate's the answer. But it was also the turning point of like, I'm not ever going to do a duplex again, because that was so much work. But that was our start.
So how did you? So I still want to follow this track, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So what happened to get you to go after a larger deal? Did you align with someone as a sponsor? Did you just because I mean, this is going to help people that are out there wondering how they get started in this. So you started with a duplex. What was the next step?
Yeah, 100%. It's a great question, because I always say, like, the two things that moves this business forward is deals and capital. And if you're just getting started, pick one, right? Don't try and figure out this whole business, and don't wait till you know the whole business to get in. It is really, like you said, align yourself with other experienced operators. That's exactly what happened. Again, when you say you're going to go do something and you're aligned on that, God aligns, provides those answers.
Yep,
and that's honestly what happened. Like, someone called me and said, "Hey, did you know that your experience in raising money for nonprofits, you could leverage that for real estate?" I'm like, "No, is that legal?" Am I going to go to jail? And so that's when I learned about syndication. And that's exactly
so
what
you
I
came
did.
in as raising equity for somebody.
That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. And guys, if you have obviously you're a great speaker. You spoke in front of groups for your ministry, and so you're a great communicator. And so if that's your skill set, if you're listening and that's your skill set, raising equity could absolutely be a great contribution to someone's team. And the people are always looking for money, but there's a caveat. You have to do more than just raise money. You've got to be involved in the deal, in the, upfront due diligence, the ongoing asset management, whatever it is, you have to play a role other than raising money. Otherwise the SEC will knock on your door, and that's something you don't want. So that's how you got going. And so you met somebody that had a deal they were working, or you networked and found somebody, and that's how you aligned with a team. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not special, but man, I worked my butt off and I met everyone there was to meet. And I mean, just like this, I remember I was still in college ministry, and anyone who would give me 5 minutes on the phone, and not that I had anything to provide, I just was like, I knew, like most things in my life, every good thing came through a connection. Mm-hmm. And so it was just one connection after another, and trying to find, someone that I would align with. And that's exactly what happened, and got to build a relationship with someone for several months. And the next deal came up, and I said, give me a chance to see what we can do together. And that was the start. And, that kind of proved out a concept. And about a year later, I guess about a year.
Are you still with the same partner, or did you?
No. That was just kind of a deal we did together. We've since started our own company. I mean, now, our company, Symphony Capital Group, is our own thing, but that was the start. I mean, that was before there was Symphony. That was just Ellis. Okay. So that's how we got in. But just connections. And
so did you go? So building those connections, did you go to events? Did you go to meetups? What did you do to build those connections?
Early on, man, I didn't have the money to go to events, right? Right. I just called people on the phone. Like, I listened to a podcast show. People would give their information, and I would call them. Oh, no kidding. So just outbound phone calls. Okay. Well, that's a way. That's a way to do it. That's all I had. Like, that's all I had money for. I didn't have money to go to these events. Finally,
there's meetup groups, though. I know San Diego. Hell, one of my Warriors puts one on. I know that, but that's a place where you can meet other people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of those meetups are, guys that aren't. I mean, they were like me. Everyone, everyone's kind of in the same boat. I'm like, this is not helpful.
Okay.
And so, but I did, about I guess mid 2019, a little bit before we left, transitioned out of a full-time ministry role, I looked at my wife and said, honey, I need 20 grand. Like, I need to take 20 grand. If that was probably all that we had. And I said, I need this to just invest in my network. And that's when I started showing up to a couple events.
Did you ever come to one of mine?
I've not. No, I've not. I'm not coming to one of yours.
I've got one coming up. I've got one coming up in July, the end of July. And you're certainly welcome to come as my guest. It's going to be in Denver, 29th, 30th, and 31st. There should be about 1,000 people there. So it's very exciting.
Well, I love that. And I would say if anyone's listening, go if they're like, man, this is where I'm at, because those type of things changed my life, because those connections, those relationships I made have made me thousands and millions. It made me literally, I look at that investment, I literally 7x that investment the next year, meaning I put in 20 grand, right? And I 7x that in terms of revenue the following year. And then the next year we bought over $100 million of real estate. So it works.
Right. So you've been at this 3 years then? Is that about right?
Well, I bought our first deal in beginning of 2018. Okay. So a little bit longer, but our company, we founded Symphony at the beginning of 2020, but we've been doing deals a little bit longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, because you're a former pastor, talk about why profit matters according to the Bible, because this is not a religious podcast, but there are certainly a lot of Christians and religious people that listen. And so I'd be interested to get your take on that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I might have promised you to ask that, only because I do think it's a limiting belief, Rod, for so many listening. And regardless if you're a Christian or religious or not, we know that money has a negative stigma. And if you have a negative, we all got baggage. Like, we all got money baggage. I've never met anyone that doesn't have money baggage. Right. And if you don't know what that is, the reality is that's very likely limiting your ability to produce more of it in your life. Yeah. And that's what I didn't realize. Like, I didn't realize that money flows to value, right? And so I always had this negative attraction towards money because I just saw what I thought money was doing to my parents, what money did to, different scenarios in my life. And so I said, I didn't want that. And so, but that story, and what I want to help people realize is it's not about money. Profit creates options for people, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong. The Bible actually teaches that the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
But money,
it's the love of money. That's right.
Right. money is a tool. Money is a utility. And the honest thing about riding this challenges a lot of people in my community who are Christians is the more that, we always think we're being a good steward of money if we don't spend it or we're holding on to it. I would say, actually, I think that shows that you still idolize money, because money is the tool. And if you're not willing to invest it and spend it to get you to where you want to go, why are you holding on to it? What's the point? Yeah. Right. And so for me, man, I see money as a tool, but I see profit as probably the better thing to talk about here, because what does profit allow us to do? Well, if I had profit, if I had margin in my life for that young man 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been able to fund his ministry. Yeah. Right. Margin in my business allows me, one, to take care of my family. It allows to give my daughter a great education, but it also allows us to do great things for our residents, for our tenants. Right. It allows us to give to nonprofits and ministries. So again, it's just a challenging thought for folks who kind of come with money baggage is change the way you think about money. Like, money flows to value. And if I asked you this question, Rod, how much value should you create in the world? How much would you say? If the question was just value, and I said, Rod, how much value should you bring?
Here's how I'll answer it. The people that are the most successful on the planet are the ones that add the most value. Okay.
100%.
I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. Okay. I can go right now and I can buy that lamp behind you in about 30 seconds on Amazon. If I can find it fast enough, but I mean, I'm literally, adding value and I live my life trying to add as much value as I can. I mean, I used to, when I first did my podcast, I took 30-minute phone calls from my listeners, free calls. I didn't have anything to sell. I said, let me just see if I can help you. And I took hundreds of them. Now, here's some of the books I've written over the last, 4 years that I give away for free, trying to add value. We're always constantly trying to improve our Warrior coaching program. In fact, we just added a weekly email with a resource that started this week. And so, just finished my asset management book and giving that away for free. And so, it's all about value. And when you're out there, like in social media or trying to create reach, like on your podcast, for example, it's about two things: adding value and being consistent. That's it. And if you do that, you'll create reach, and you don't need the 13 million downloads I'm getting. You can do it with a few hundred. I don't know if I answered your question, but
no, well, you did. I mean, the answer is infinite. You want to bring as much as you can. Right. And to your point, Jeff Bezos, and it's why you're so successful. It's why your program is so successful. It's why Jeff Bezos is the richest man on the planet, depending on where Tesla is, is because they focus on value, and money flows to value, and it has nothing to do with. So my point is, if we're creating infinite value in the world, then likely we're going to have lots of money. And then the question becomes, well, what do I do with that money? And that's really it. And that's
you give to nonprofits. I've got one. I've fed probably close to 120,000 kids for the last 20 years and quite a few other things as well. And, so, that's what it gives us. It gives me the ability to, of course, have a lifestyle I've wanted. I love to travel and all those things, but I know that both you and I, through our show, are impacting lots of people through my training. You impact people. You've got a mastermind. You help people as well. I mean, we're both out there making the world a better place, helping people realize their dreams. It's a beautiful thing. So, what suggestions would you have for someone that's thinking about getting into this business that has not maybe pulled the trigger on anything yet? Maybe they haven't done anything. They just know they want more out of life. They don't want to be in the same place they are now a year from now.
Yeah, well, I always say you can tell a man's future by the books he reads and the people he hangs out with. Mm. And so, I mean, if you don't have any money, then figure out how to spend, round up $50 and buy some books and buy some books that really will stretch your mindset. For me, that was Think and Grow Rich. That was the T. Harvey book, Millionaire Mindset, I think.
I was going to talk about T. Harvey because the reason, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but T. Harv Eker, he used to do a whole weekend course that I went to once, all about these money constraints that we live, this box that we live in. And so I'm really glad you brought him up, because that's a great example of the dilemma that, quite a few Christians might face, right? Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, that's an uncomfortable book for me. Like if you're a strong Christian, like that book is not going to sit well with you, but that's exactly why you need to read it.
Right.
And here's the thing, I think most people, like, you don't have to agree with everything.
No,
that's not the
of course
point.
not. Right.
Right. The point is it's going to stretch you to see the world differently. And that's what it did for me. And so things like that are really helpful. And then, like I said, the people you hang out with, I think if you don't, I don't know what your coaching program is, right, Rob? But let's say it's $25,000. And people,
it's not that much, but thank you.
Yeah, sure. Well, maybe it should be, right? So let's say it is though, and someone comes to you and say, "Well, I can't afford that yet." I always say that's the time you need to spend the $25,000, because if you still think $25,000 is a lot of money, you need to be around different people who can help you realize what's possible. I asked someone the other day if they could dream, like what would be an ideal amount of money they would make this year, and they told me $100,000. And I said, well, what's keeping you from making that decision? I'm like, well, we don't want to spend $20,000 to be a part of a program. I'm like, dude, if you think $100,000 is a lot of money, you need to spend that as fast as possible, because the $20,000 is your biggest limiting factor.
Yeah. I used to have a sign above my bed that said $100,000 a month. And my wife hated it then. Now it says $1 million a month. She hates that one too. But
Yeah, because you like what you now know is possible is $100,000 would be a bad year for you, and so those are huge for me. I mean, because your network makes all the difference. And this business, while we're talking about real estate here, I said is very simple in my opinion. Comes down to two things, and it will always come down to these two things. It will come down to finding really good deals. Mm-hmm. And it will come down to finding money to fund those deals. Yeah. And you don't have to be an expert at both. You need to be an expert at one and partner with others to do the other.
Yeah, no question. This business is a team sport, guys. You guys know that. And it really is that simple. It really is that simple. And by the way, if you want a free book, go to rodslinks.com. And I've got several free books there, but my main, number one bestseller is there. You just pay the shipping and you get it. I've got a lot of rave reviews about that book, but anyway, Rod's Links is linked to all my stuff, including that free book and the boot camp that's coming up too, by the way, guys. So, let's move past the brand new operator and talk about, well, first of all, as you were going through this, did you here in the background, as you're going through this, did you have any epiphanies, any aha moments? And he was like, holy cow, now I get it moments?
Like every day.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think the one we could really ramp on, and because this is true at every point. And we've talked to the new investors. Let's talk to the maybe guys who are in the business, because, I'm learning this more and more every day is, listen, go bigger, guys. Yeah. Like, go bigger. I mean, that is a limiting belief to think that you can't go bigger. And I mean, it's just, I now that I'm playing bigger, like I'm having these conversations, I'm under contract on a big deal. Mm-hmm. Like, let's talk about equity for a minute. We've syndicated most of our funds for most of our deals from LPs up to this point. And so the issue with that is, the question is always, do I have enough funding, right? Like, do my LPs have enough money to fund our deals? Well, when you begin to play bigger and you're starting to work with institutional money or larger crowdfunding platforms, the conversation is totally different, because now it's not a question of do they have enough money. The issue is, I need to place this money. And like, that was an epiphany for me of like, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother world I don't even know about, that the issue is not money. The issue is, I am losing money because I'm holding on to it. Like, I need better places, faster places to put money. And so, we're talking with groups about programmatic funding, because they want to work with us on multiple deals, because they need good sponsors to place that money with on a repeating basis. And so, like, that's an epiphany for me. And I think if you're just doing a couple of deals and, most of your mentors are kind of in the syndication world and that's all I'm like, it might be time to study some other options, because what I've learned is there are other ways. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying, like,
well, there are positives and negatives. I'm going to tell
100%.
you, when you're dealing in that world, you're almost always giving up some control, and you've got very often you've got some metrics that you have to adhere to, and I remember we bought an asset in Kentucky that the guy did not want to sell, but his private equity company was making him sell, and so there you can have situations like that you want to be careful of, but yeah, I mean when you get into the larger deals, you have to have other resources for money. You can't do it at 50, 100 grand a pop.
To exactly what you said, Rod. Let me go on that. And what you just said, you're giving up control. I heard that a lot in the last several years. Don't go do this because you're giving up control. Let me just say what I've realized in the last several months. Who cares? Yeah. Like if this company allows me to buy $12 billion of real estate over the next decade, I'm not even holding these deals I'm not a 10-year investor, man. We're value add multifamily guys. We're going there and increasing revenue, getting the most amount of returns for our investors in the shortest amount of time. Control, that's not the season of life I'm in. And when I realized that, I'm like, well, why would I not give up control for growth? And so that's, again, all right,
I am gonna push back a little bit.
Please, because it's an open conversation.
I'm gonna push back because the problem with it is if, for example, that fund or that family office or, wherever, that private equity fund has a situation where they need liquidity, they can force things that you aren't going to be happy with. That's it. Sometimes, not always. It depends on, you want a really good attorney reviewing all your documentation. There's going to be a lot of back and forth and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's a small degree of control. Sometimes it's a large degree of control. And it depends on the amount invested and who you're dealing with. But the key here is absolutely don't let it be a limitation for sure. Okay. Because that's how you're going to get into no question. I agree with you there. It's just both eyes wide open is the only caveat that I have. And, there's some situations where there's some, especially the fact that we're heading into a recession and now everybody's going to tighten up and this is with a recession. It's going to be incredible opportunity. Okay. Get excited. Don't get fearful, get excited. But with that happening, some of those controls can have, NOI metrics involved. They can have, vacancy metrics involved that will trigger, things that aren't very desirable if you're not careful. So to the point I'm making here, Ellis, and I agree with you fundamentally, the point, especially globally, I agree with you. The point I'm making is just be careful and make sure you don't jump into something. Make sure you really have your stuff reviewed, you negotiate it and so on and so forth so that you don't get yourself in one of those challenging, situations.
Well, and if they have all of their equity in the deal, then they should have some level of control, and you have to realize that. And that makes 100% sense. And I would just say, up to this point in my life, every time the network that I've swam in since I started, that was the only thing I ever heard about private equity was don't do it, you're going to give up control. And I'm just saying, it may not be for everyone, but just realizing that maybe this is for me. I don't have to do it the way everyone else has done it. No, and that's the point I'm kind of trying to make. It's just different problems at this level. Agreed.
And congratulations. Now, let me ask you this, knowing what you know now, and I know, you get this question on other interviews, but knowing what you know now, going back a few years, is there anything you'd do differently?
I feel like I'm trying to do this now. I mean, I would continue to spend as much money that I, at least, I don't want to say feel comfortable because I probably spend more than I'm uncomfortable with, but I try to continue to see relationships as the greatest asset that I have. Yeah. And I try and spend more and more money each year getting access to relationships because, for example, in this deal right now, if I had not spent, 6 figures on personal development masterminds last year, I wouldn't know who to call when I got this deal under contract. Yeah. There's been no problem for me because now I know who to call. Right. So I continue to see that as a great asset. I continue to spend more and more money on building a team and marketing around my personal brand, realizing how important that is. Mm-hmm. And so, I would have spent more money, spent more time on that earlier, building out my personal brand, getting out my personal message. That's really key. And, we're just trying to buy bigger deals, and partner with more people, go bigger. I spent a lot of time kind of buying hairy small deals because that's what I thought I could afford. And like many, I was making decisions based on my current network and my current resources. And that was how I was making decisions, and just realizing like, no, I'm going to push myself a little bit, push our team a little bit. Doing something bigger allows more people to be a part of it. And I think, everyone could probably push himself a little bit.
Yeah, no question. And it's interesting, you talked about your network really being your net worth. I mean, that's basically what you said. I'm twisting the words a little bit, but like my students now own somewhere between 60 and 70,000 doors that I know of. And I've only been teaching, 4.5 years. Yeah, something I'm very proud of. But what's interesting is most of those deals were done between warriors. They were done between, my students. And it really so if you're, if you're looking at this business, get into a network, get around people that are doing it. And it really makes all the difference in the world. My most connected warriors are my most successful warriors. I'm speaking about my group. So, well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, brother. And, it was fun to, have a little bit of the faith-based conversation here. So again, guys, his name's Symphony Capital Group. Ellis, I appreciate you coming on, brother. And maybe I'll see you in Denver if you can make it.
Rob, a long time coming, man. Glad to be here and grateful for opportunity to speak to your audience. Good luck, everybody. Go big.
Thanks.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.